Captain Leo Harper's boots crunched against the strange, metallic soil of the new planet as he stepped off the shuttle. A sharp wind blew across the outpost, carrying a faint scent of minerals and something sweet, almost like flowers but not quite. He pulled his jacket tighter around his shoulders, feeling the chill settle deep in his bones. He had trained for years, prepared for harsh worlds, hostile environments, even alien combat, but nothing in simulations had captured the quiet awe of this moment. The outpost stretched ahead like a city made of crystal and steel. Towers shimmered in pale blue light, reflecting the dim glow of two moons overhead. Pathways twisted around each other like ribbons, and strange floating lights drifted lazily in the distance. Leo felt a small thrill. For the first time in his life, he was truly somewhere no human had ever set foot before. A mix of fear and excitement fluttered in his chest. He followed the welcoming committee through the main hall. They were tall, taller than any human, with bodies that seemed both solid and liquid, glowing softly in changing patterns of light. Their heads floated slightly above their shoulders, and multiple eyes of different colors watched him carefully. Leo forced himself to breathe normally, remembering his training. Observe first, act later. But every instinct screamed that he was completely out of his depth. The hallways twisted and turned, and the walls themselves seemed alive. Patterns moved across them, forming shapes he couldn't recognize, messages, or maybe just decoration. Leo wondered how much of this world was natural and how much was constructed by these beings. His mind raced with questions. Would they accept me? Could I survive here? Am I ready for this? Finally, they stopped before a large doorway carved from a single massive crystal. One of the aliens gestured for him to enter. Hesitating, Leo glanced back at the shuttle that had brought him here, wondering if he could turn back. But something deep inside him refused. He had volunteered for this mission knowing it would be dangerous, knowing it would challenge him in ways no human ever had faced. There was no turning back now. Inside, the room pulsed with soft light. The walls reflected 1,000 shifting colors, and the floor hummed faintly under his boots. In the center stood a figure unlike anything Leo had ever imagined. Though motionless, it radiated authority and presence. Its form was taller than the tallest alien he had seen outside, with limbs and appendages that shimmered like liquid metal. Multiple eyes focused on him, and for a moment Leo froze. Then a feeling washed over him, not fear, but a strange mixture of curiosity and caution. He realized that every human on Earth had dreamed of making contact with intelligent alien life, and here he was, standing alone in a room with what might be the leader of an entire civilization. Every training exercise, every simulation, every survival drill had led to this moment. A soft, almost musical hum filled the room. Leo's chest tightened. He wasn't just meeting another species. He was meeting a being whose thoughts and actions could shape the future of humans in ways he couldn't yet understand. And yet, despite the weight of it all, there was a spark of excitement. Humans were explorers by nature, and he had the rare chance to show what humanity could offer. The alien moved slightly, a graceful gesture that seemed to acknowledge his presence. Leo swallowed, forcing himself to step forward. He could feel the weight of history pressing down on him. This moment would be remembered, whether he succeeded or failed. For the first time, he truly understood what it meant to be a pioneer, standing on the edge of the unknown. Leo Harper took a deep breath, squared his shoulders, and spoke aloud in the only language that mattered right now: human courage. Whatever awaited him in the shadows of this alien outpost, he was ready to face it head-on. Leo barely had time to catch his breath when the senior alien officer motioned for him to follow. The hallways seemed to twist in impossible ways, and the light from the walls pulsed softly, almost like a heartbeat. Leo's mind raced. He had expected briefings, training, or assignments he could understand. Instead, he was being led deeper into the outpost, into a place that felt almost sacred. The officer stopped before a massive door that seemed to shimmer as if it were made of liquid light. Leo felt a strange vibration in his chest, like a warning and an invitation at the same time. The officer's multiple eyes blinked in a pattern he didn't understand. Then, Through a series of gestures and flashing colors, the message became clear. Leo's first task was not simple labor or routine duty. It was an audience with the Queen. Leo's heart skipped a beat. He had read about alien leaders, of course, in reports and old mission logs, but never had he imagined he would meet one alone, without a translator or protector, on his very first day. The thought both thrilled and terrified him. What am I supposed to do? How do I impress a being whose mind and senses are beyond anything I've known? The door opened silently, revealing a chamber bathed in soft violet light. In the center, the Queen's form hovered like a living sculpture. Her multiple limbs moved gracefully, casting shifting shadows across the walls. Her eyes, unlike anything human, seemed to look into Leo's very thoughts. At first, he froze. Everything in him screamed to step back, to retreat, to find safety in routine. But he remembered the reason he was here. Humans were explorers. Humans faced the unknown. Humans adapted. Taking a deep breath, Leo stepped forward. The Queen did not speak in words, yet thoughts and emotions flooded his mind. Images of vast cities floating in the sky, oceans glowing under alien moons, and creatures of unimaginable beauty and intelligence. Among these visions there was curiosity, a quiet test. What will this human do? Leo steadied himself, focusing on his own thoughts. He could feel the pressure of the moment, the weight of his species' reputation resting on his shoulders. He sent back emotions he hoped she could understand: respect, humility, courage, and above all, humanity. Unlike any other species she had encountered, humans were unpredictable, full of contradictions, yet capable of remarkable ingenuity. He had to show her that. Minutes or maybe hours passed. Time itself seemed strange in the chamber. Leo's mind swirled with wonder and anxiety, but he refused to break. He observed her form, noting the subtle shifts in light and color that seemed to convey emotion. Then he did something he hadn't planned. He smiled. It was small, human, and perhaps insignificant, but somehow he sensed that it mattered. The Queen's luminescence pulsed gently, a ripple of approval or curiosity. Leo realized then that this encounter was not just about obedience or protocol. It was a test of understanding, a test of connection. Could a human, with all his limitations, communicate with a being so different, so advanced? Could he bridge the gap between worlds? For the first time, he felt something beyond fear: hope. The kind of hope that drives humans to climb mountains, cross oceans, and explore the stars. He was not merely a visitor here. He was a representative of his entire species. And despite the strangeness, despite the immense challenge, he felt a spark of confidence. The Queen moved closer, her presence filling the chamber, yet without threat. She extended a single appendage in what Leo interpreted as a gesture of invitation. The message was clear. The night ahead would be a test, a challenge unlike anything he had imagined, but it was also an opportunity. Leo Harper squared his shoulders, feeling the weight of history, responsibility, and possibility pressing on him all at once. He took a deep breath, ready to step fully into the unknown. Tonight he would face the Queen, and in doing so he would show the universe something uniquely human: courage, empathy, and the ability to reach across the impossible. The chamber was alive with a soft hum, resonating through Leo's chest as he stepped closer to the Queen. Every part of her seemed to shimmer with energy, like the stars themselves had been folded into her skin. He realized that she was more than a leader. She was a living emblem of her entire species, and her presence carried centuries of knowledge, culture, and power. When she shifted, the air seemed to pulse in response. Leo's instincts screamed caution, but something in her energy told him there was no immediate danger. Instead, she was studying him, measuring him, not with weapons or strength, but with perception. The Queen's thoughts, a stream of colors and emotions, brushed against his mind. At first it was overwhelming: images of sprawling cities floating in air, oceans glowing with strange light, forests that seemed to move on their own. Amid it all there was an unspoken question: who are you, human? Leo took a deep breath. He had no way to respond in words that she would understand. Instead, he focused on feeling, honesty, respect, and courage. He sent out what he hoped was clear: a human greeting, a willingness to learn, and a recognition of her authority. It was a fragile bridge, invisible yet powerful. The queen's form pulsed gently, shifting colors in patterns Leo instinctively understood as acknowledgement. He realized that this was not about fear or intimidation. She wanted to see what humans were capable of, not in battle, but in thought, emotion, and connection. Humans were unpredictable, and unpredictability fascinated her species. Then the queen extended a limb that shimmered with light, touching the floor in front of Leo. A series of holographic images erupted around him, displaying moments of human history, both glorious and tragic. Cities rebuilt after collapse, explorers venturing into unknown lands, humans creating beauty in spite of adversity. Leo recognized the message. She was testing not only him, but his understanding of humanity itself. Could he represent the resilience, courage, and ingenuity that made humans unique? Leo's heart raced. He had spent years training for scenarios like this, but nothing could truly prepare him for the intensity of the moment. With a calm he did not fully feel, he focused on the values that had carried humanity through millennia. He projected determination, creativity, empathy, and hope. The images around him seemed to shift in response, forming patterns of light that felt like approval. As he observed her, Leo noticed something unexpected: curiosity, not just casual interest but genuine fascination. The queen had encountered countless species, each with their own strengths and weaknesses, yet something about humans captivated her. It was their contradictions, their courage in the face of the unknown, and their relentless will to survive. Leo felt a surge of pride. Humans might be fragile physically, but their hearts and minds were formidable. Hours passed, though Leo could not be sure. Time seemed different in the chamber. The queen finally drew back slightly, and for the first time Leo felt the quiet of the space settle around him. He was exhausted, physically and mentally, but there was a deep satisfaction. The first contact had been more than a test. It had been a dialogue of understanding, a silent conversation between species. The queen's multiple eyes regarded him with what Leo interpreted as respect. A subtle glow pulsed around her, like a nod that transcended words. He realized she had seen something uniquely human in him: courage tempered by empathy, curiosity tempered by caution, and the ability to face the unknown with a heart willing to connect. Leo straightened his posture, feeling the weight of the moment. This first contact was not the end. It was the beginning. Humans had taken their first real step into a world that was far larger and more complex than Earth. And for the first time, Leo felt that humans could truly stand beside alien civilizations, not as conquerors but as partners, as beings capable of connection, understanding, and mutual respect. As he prepared to leave the chamber, a thought settled firmly in his mind. This was what humanity had always done: faced the impossible and found a way to make a mark. And tonight, that mark had been seen. The queen's chamber had changed subtly since Leo's first contact. Now, the walls glowed with patterns of shifting light, forming paths and symbols that seemed alive. Suspended orbs floated in the air, each radiating energy in a color he could barely describe. The queen's eyes followed him intently, as though every heartbeat, every breath, revealed something about his character. "Your task is to understand," the queen conveyed, not with words but with a stream of feelings and images. "Not by looking, not by hearing, but by connecting. Each choice reflects your understanding of your species and the universe." Leo studied the orbs carefully. They seemed simple at first, round, radiant, floating. But when he reached toward the nearest one, it responded, projecting a miniature world within itself. Cities rose and fell, forests grew and burned, oceans surged and receded, all in fast forward. Each orb represented a challenge, a decision, or a moral dilemma faced by countless civilizations, and he had to navigate them, using thought, empathy, and ingenuity. The first orb pulsed with a soft red light. Leo touched it and a vision exploded before him: a society on the brink of war. Decisions had to be made in moments, weighing ethics against survival. Leo's heart pounded. He realized this was more than a puzzle. It was a test of judgment. Humans had always faced choices where morality clashed with necessity. Drawing on his own experiences and stories of humanity, he guided the vision toward compromise and understanding. The red glow softened into gold, signaling success. Another orb, deep blue, presented a different challenge. It was a maze of energy representing communication and understanding. He had to navigate without maps or instructions, relying only on intuition and empathy. Mistakes caused dissonance in the chamber, small shocks that rattled his focus. Leo closed his eyes and centered himself, imagining how humans would solve similar problems, by observing, experimenting, and trusting instincts. Step by step, he moved through the energy maze and the orb brightened. Hours passed in what felt like moments. Each orb tested a different aspect of his humanity: creativity, resilience, honesty, compassion. Each challenge pushed him to think in ways he never had before. The queen watched silently, her multiple eyes shifting patterns of light that seemed to measure not only his skill but his heart. Leo realized that the trial was not about perfection. It was about the ability to connect, adapt, and persevere. At one point, a black orb hovered before him, radiating a strange, almost oppressive energy. The vision it projected was dark, a world collapsing under greed and mistrust. Leo felt a surge of fear. He could see how easy it would be to fail, to make choices that would doom this simulated civilization. But he drew strength from humanity's history. Humans had survived famine, natural disasters, and wars not because they were flawless, but because they learned, adapted, and cared for one another. Trusting that instinct, he guided the vision toward cooperation, and the oppressive blackness gave way to shimmering light. Exhausted, Leo sank to one knee as the final orb pulsed before him. It was white, serene, representing hope and unity. He closed his eyes and projected all he had learned, all he had felt, all he had understood about being human. The orb glowed brighter and brighter until the entire chamber seemed bathed in golden light. The queen moved closer, her form radiating calm and approval. For the first time, Leo felt a connection deeper than words could convey. He had not only completed the trial but had shown the queen something profound. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but they carried courage, empathy, and wisdom born from struggle. They could navigate complexity not just with tools but with heart. The queen's glow shifted, a gentle ripple spreading through the chamber. She reached out a limb toward him, and Leo understood. He had earned her recognition. This trial of trust had been more than a test. It was an acknowledgement that humans could be partners, not just observers, in a universe far larger and more intricate than Earth alone. Leo stood, feeling the weight of both relief and pride. Exhaustion tugged at his limbs, but his heart swelled with purpose. He had survived the trial, yes, but more importantly, he had revealed humanity's true strength: the ability to face the unknown, to act with courage, and to connect across even the greatest divides. The chamber had fallen into a quiet glow after the trials, yet Leo could feel the lingering energy of the orbs around him. The queen hovered silently, observing him with a depth that unsettled and inspired him at the same time. Her presence was immense, and yet tonight there was a softness, an unspoken invitation to connect, not just perform. Leo sat on the smooth, glowing floor, exhausted from the trials, his thoughts a jumble of relief, pride, and wonder. He had navigated impossible puzzles, faced challenges beyond any human simulation, and yet the true test had been something simpler: being human. Courage, empathy, intuition, and honesty. These were qualities no alien device could measure, but they had carried him through. The queen moved closer, her luminous form shifting colors in a gentle rhythm. Unlike before, there was no pressure, no test, just observation. Leo felt the strange, subtle warmth of connection. It was not language, not even thought images, but something deeper. He sensed her own experiences, her own burdens as a ruler of an entire civilization. Decisions made with consequences spanning eons. Isolation, responsibility, and a longing for understanding. And in that moment, Leo allowed himself to respond not as a recruit or a representative, but as a human being. He projected memories of his own world, fragments of Earth life. The laughter of children chasing kites under a golden sun, the quiet comfort of a friend's hand on a shoulder, the small victories in the face of adversity. He shared not just intellect or strategy, but emotion, what it meant to care, to hope, to persevere. The Queen's glow pulsed subtly, a response unlike any test or instruction. Leo felt a strange, almost musical vibration within him. He realized she was not just observing humans, she was learning them. Every gesture, every emotion, every small truth about resilience and heart mattered to her. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but in their unpredictability there was beauty, honesty, and strength. Leo leaned back slightly, catching his breath, and for the first time in the chamber he smiled. The Queen mirrored him, not in mimicry but in reflection. She pulsed with warmth, sending an image that filled his mind, her own memories of struggle, of decisions made alone, and of connections lost or gained across eons. In that shared understanding, Leo felt a bridge form, not just between human and alien, but between hearts capable of empathy across unimaginable differences. For hours he stayed there, communicating without words, sharing experiences and emotions. Leo realized that this was the moment that mattered most, not the challenges, not the orbs, not even the rituals of recognition, but the human capacity to connect, to inspire trust, and to convey meaning without needing language. Through this quiet exchange, the Queen conveyed a subtle truth. Strength was not just in power or intellect. It was in understanding, in compassion, and in the ability to face uncertainty with courage and heart. Leo felt his own humanity swell in response. This understanding, this recognition, was worth more than any accolade, more than any victory he had imagined before arriving at the outpost. When the chamber finally quieted, Leo looked at the Queen with renewed clarity. The initial awe had shifted into something deeper, a profound respect, and a realization that humans could offer something unique in this universe. Their resilience, creativity, and emotional depth were not flaws but gifts, capable of bridging worlds and forging connections that could endure across light years. The Queen extended a glowing limb toward him, not as a test but as a gesture of acknowledgement. Leo reached out with his hand, feeling the subtle energy hum between them. It was a human moment in the truest sense, a shared understanding of courage, of empathy, and of hope. And in that instant, Leo knew that he had passed more than a trial. He had revealed the essence of humanity itself. As he rose, exhaustion mixed with a deep, unshakable pride. The Queen's form shimmered one final time, as if sealing the bond that had been formed. Leo Harper had not just survived the night. He had proven that humans could face the unknown, not with dominance but with heart. The chamber's glow shifted once more, casting long, gentle shadows across the walls. Leo stood quietly, still absorbing the weight of the night. The trials had tested his mind, his instincts, and his courage, but the quiet moments with the Queen had revealed something more profound: his humanity. Now, as he looked at her, he realized the next stage of the evening was not a test, but recognition. The Queen extended a limb toward him, glowing softly. Images flooded Leo's mind, not commands, not challenges, but memories and emotions from countless beings of her species. And among them she placed the essence of humans: unpredictability, empathy, courage, and creativity. It was not a projection of superiority, but an acknowledgement that humans possessed qualities unique in the universe. Leo felt his chest tighten with pride and humility. He had never imagined that a single human could stand in a room with such a powerful being and be valued not for weapons, not for strategy, but for the essence of who he was. The Queen's luminescence pulsed gently, like a heartbeat, as if she were telling him silently, "Your species matters. You are seen." Delegates began to appear from the shadows, other members of her civilization, beings Leo had only glimpsed in passing. They hovered quietly, observing him. And then, one by one, they acknowledged him in their own ways. Subtle shifts of light, gentle vibrations through the floor, and patterns in the air that carried meaning he could feel but not fully articulate. Leo realized that this was more than an honor. It was a message. Humans had something to offer, something powerful in a universe that prized logic and conformity. The Queen pulsed again, and images of humanity filled the chamber. Cities rebuilt after disasters, people inventing, discovering, caring for one another despite limitations and mistakes. Leo understood what she saw. Humans were fragile in body but extraordinary in spirit. They survived because they adapted, because they persisted, and because they cared. That was what made humans valuable, not their strength but their heart. Leo's own heart swelled. He had never felt so deeply recognized, not by his peers, not by history, but by a species whose understanding stretched across centuries and light years. And yet, it was not just recognition, it was trust. The Queen was entrusting humanity with a role in the wider universe, not as conquerors but as partners. A silent message echoed through him. You can shape the future, not through force but through courage and empathy. He took a deep breath and let himself feel the full weight of the moment. The trials, the visions, the moments of doubt, they had all led here. Humanity was not perfect, but it was capable of greatness, and the Queen had seen it in him. He felt a surge of determination. If one human could represent these qualities, imagine what a united humanity could achieve in the galaxy. The Queen extended a final gesture, her glowing limb hovering before him, radiant and soft. Leo stepped forward, reaching out in response. For a fleeting instant, the energy connecting them seemed almost tangible, a bridge between species and hearts. In that connection, Leo understood that humans were not just visitors in this universe. They were participants, capable of shaping, healing, and inspiring. As he stepped back, the chamber pulsed with light one last time. The Queen's form shimmered, a silent acknowledgement that the night was over, and yet that the bond had been forged. Leo knew he would carry this moment forever, the recognition, the understanding, and the responsibility. For the first time, he felt the true weight and the true potential of humanity, not in what they had conquered, but in what they could inspire. And standing there on an alien world under unfamiliar moons, Leo Harper understood something profound. Humanity's greatest power was not in weapons or technology, but in courage, empathy, and the ability to connect, even across the impossible. The Queen withdrew, leaving him with a quiet glow and a profound sense of purpose. Leo knew that his journey was far from over, but tonight humans had been seen, truly seen. The chamber had quieted, leaving only the soft hum of the outpost around Leo. The Queen's presence had faded slightly, but its warmth lingered like a memory etched into the air. He stood alone for a moment, taking in the glowing walls, the suspended orbs, and the vastness of a world so different from Earth. Everything about this place was extraordinary, yet the most extraordinary part had been the connection he had made. Leo's mind replayed the events of the night, the trials, the orbs, the silent conversations of light and thought. Each moment had tested him, pushed him to the edge of fear, and demanded every ounce of humanity he could summon. And in return, he had been seen, not just as an individual, but as a representative of his species. Humans had been recognized for courage, ingenuity, and heart. He stepped toward the exit, each movement deliberate. The glow of the walls seemed to guide him, and he felt a subtle shift in the energy around him, a silent acknowledgement from the Queen. He realized that humans were no longer just visitors or observers in this universe. They had a role, a purpose, and a potential that could shape worlds. As he walked through the hallways, the other delegates observed him. Their eyes, filled with curiosity and respect, followed his steps. Leo felt a profound responsibility settle on his shoulders. Humanity's journey among the stars would not be easy, but if tonight had proven anything, it was that humans could meet the impossible with courage and heart. Stepping out onto the observation deck, Leo looked up at the twin moons hanging in the alien sky. Their light shimmered on the crystalline towers of the outpost, and for a moment he imagined Earth beneath him, the forests, the oceans, the people who had entrusted him with the representation of their species. A surge of pride filled him, tempered by humility. He was just one human, yet tonight he carried the weight and the potential of many. The Queen's final gesture replayed in his mind, a subtle pulse of light that had conveyed trust, recognition, and hope. He understood now that this bond was not just symbolic. It was an invitation for humanity to step forward, to engage with the wider universe, and to show that their greatest strength lay not in domination, but in connection, courage, and empathy. Leo took a deep breath, feeling the gravity of the moment. He had survived challenges no human had ever faced, and in doing so, he had proven something greater. Humans could inspire, adapt, and connect across unimaginable differences. The trials of tonight had tested him, but they had also illuminated the essence of his species. He turned to leave, and the walls pulsed one final time, a silent acknowledgement of his journey. Leo realized that this night would remain with him forever, not just as a memory, but as a compass guiding his actions, his decisions, and his purpose in the galaxy. Humanity had been seen, understood, and respected, and that respect was a responsibility he would carry proudly. As he descended to the transport bay, he felt a quiet determination grow within him. Humans had taken their first real step into a universe full of wonders, challenges, and possibilities. The path ahead would be long, uncertain, and dangerous, but they were capable. They were not just survivors. They were pioneers, bridge builders, and hearts that could reach across the impossible. Stepping onto the shuttle, Leo looked back one last time at the glowing outpost and the place where the Queen had tested, observed, and ultimately recognized him. A surge of hope filled him. Humanity had a place among the stars, and he, Leo Harper, would carry that message forward, not with weapons or dominance, but with courage, ingenuity, and compassion, the qualities that defined humans and made them extraordinary. The shuttle lifted off, leaving the alien world behind, yet the lessons of the night remained firmly with him. Humanity had been seen, and now it was time to step boldly into the universe, to face the unknown with hearts unafraid, minds unbound, and spirits capable of greatness. Leo Harper smiled, a quiet, confident smile. The stars stretched out before him, endless and inviting, and he knew this was only the beginning. Humanity had arrived.